Today, we're talking about one of my favorite mythological creatures, the Kraken, and its place in the D&D Multiverse.
So really, when you think of the Kraken, they are throwbacks to an earlier era. I almost think of them as kind of like similar to dinosaurs in the sense that to most people, they probably think of them more as like these things from the past that don't exist anymore. But there are still a few Kraken kicking around the lightless depths of the ocean. They get all poetic. But I really like the idea of this creature, like basically a giant monster like Godzilla that's hiding under the water. But unlike traditionally how you see a giant city-destroying monster depicted, they're highly intelligent. And so I think I always like that combination of a creature that has great brute strength, but also has a really, it's very intellectual. That's why ogre mages or oni, one of my favorite monsters, because they have that package at a fairly low power tier. So yeah, one of the things we have in the Forgotten Realms is the Kraken Society. This idea that there's this Kraken, and we touched on this in Volos, that has these humanoid followers, humans that it has corrupted, that serve as its agents across the Sword Coast. And it's this kind of Lovecraftian sort of angle on the Kraken. But my view is what makes Kraken interesting is they're all individuals, that no two look alike. The monster manual image is of a Kraken, but it's not every Kraken. And they each have their own schemes and plans. And so I think that's what makes them really interesting is they really are personalities. They aren't just, this is a creature like a troll or a hill giant that has a pretty narrow definition. They themselves, they're all masterminds and they're all world-changing threats. They were some of the first creatures created. And there's this sense of like the elder days when the world was new and like what was stomping around. How did the world look? What was it like when the gods first started building life and seeding it in the material plane? That's something I always find interesting, this idea of the early days of D&D, of the multiverse. And we've done a lot of thinking about like what is the geological epochs of D&D. What do those look like? Obviously it's not literally like different strata of rock, but this idea that you have these, immense periods of time where the world was very different, the universe was very different, and how has it changed, and how could it possibly change in the future? That very much interests me, and it's definitely an area where we're doing a lot of research. I don't know if you'd ever from my standpoint, I don't know if it's ever a creature that you really directly meet and talk to. I think you always kind of deal with its tentacles, metaphorically speaking, its agents, things like that. And I think that's what makes them interesting, is I think they're most interesting if they're inscrutable. They aren't just people you talk to. They're these forces of nature. They're somewhat unknowable. Where like beholders are paranoid and almost silly in some ways. Like you think of Xanathar and his attitude toward things. There's definitely an element of comedy there, where he's trying to figure out humans and doesn't quite get it. The Kraken is not trying to figure out humans. It's trying to advance its own agenda. It doesn't care. It's very much a cold intellect. And I think that's what makes them interesting to portray, because you might not ever directly roleplay one, but the players, the characters would get a sense of what one is like.
Thank you, Mike Merles, for being on the show. D&D Beyond is the official 5th edition digital toolset for D&D. We have articles, we have videos, and of course we have an awesome character builder and all the compendium content that includes all of the books for 5th edition D&D, all on dndbeyond.com, as well as an app that's currently in beta that allows you access to all of your compendium content on the go on your cell phone or your tablet. I'm Todd Kenrick. Thank you for watching.